America, Europe, give the land back. Give the artifacts and the art back. Give the fucking resources back to every country, territory that you stole from. Give it back. Because collectively, the world is looking right at you, America. I'm American. And Europe. I'm sick and tired of these colonizing white men. Y'all are the minority in the world, and yet you are continuing to colonize Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, everything. France still has fucking art from fucking Africa. Give it back. Stop stealing. Stop stealing, kleptos.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we break down history, expose hidden truths, and challenge everything you thought you knew. If you are tired of sugarcoating narratives and ready for raw, unfiltered facts, this is the place for you. And here we talk about real history, the kind they don't teach in school, from colonization and stolen artifacts to the ongoing exploitation of black and indigenous communities. We shine a light on the past to understand the present. This channel isn't about hate, it's about truth. We dig deep into topics like why Europe and America are still holding on to stolen resources, the real impact of colonization, and even shocking history like the cannibalism of black people. Yeah, you heard that right. And don't just take my word for it. We back it up with facts, books, and historical records that most people have even ever heard of. If you want to learn, challenge your thinking, and have real conversations about black history, power, and identity, then hit that subscribe button and join the movement. This isn't just history, this is our story. So, are you ready to wake up?
Can we say snaps, bitch? Snaps for that one. As we've been talking about this for generations, right? For the last, 4 years, I've had the pleasures of traveling across this country back and forth, up and down, in and out. And with such, I've also had the great honors of not only transmuting a lot of the grids, and breaking down a lot of illusions and veils along the lines of the grids here on these lands. Yet I have also, as well as Texas, because Texas does have its own grid, okay, and it's a separate grid point, but I've also had, yes, the first-hand experience of truly learning and studying while observing, and also gaining a great inclination as well as remembrance of these lands itself, and that being along the grid, right? For each place that I have visited, I have also kept a vlog in ways and sorts all throughout the many platforms that I use, and with that, along the lines of traveling and vlogging, because of the experiences that were being held, was also the warnings that were issued, right? And that being from the ancestors, as I represent my great spirits of the northeast, south, and west, above, below, within, from the dead and beyond, being the most ancient of Atlantis, Kemet, ancient Black Egypt, culture, to Blackfoot Nation and tribe, to the many other tribes, nations connected through me, through blood and bone, and so forth it be, okay? And so, yes, with the warnings issued, in many of these places, and today into which we see are now not only experiencing what seems to be of some sort of natural disaster, along the many other chaotic things that are happening in this bowl, this bowl, this burning pots, but also, so, I mean, like, it's, girl, and it's not funny on the behalf of the innocent lives that are now being, right, and or are at risk, but at the same time, it's like, well, truly, who is innocent? Because we're all a part of this. And there was a huge alliance as well in forms of consciousness, but also in the forms of the people. There was a huge alliance. So even when we say, skin folk is kinfolk, that is not the fuck true, because through my experience, no matter if it was white, black, brown, blue, red, honey, greed, fucking insecurities, fucking hate, all came in every shape, size, and form that there was. So truth is truly what delivers us and sets us free. And with such is the matter of time that has been given for truth to have been delivered in the ways that it should have been, right? And then also the truth into which is still being held back and still not wanting to, come forth as well. But yet, once again, right, with fair warning, as truth is always going to come to the light. In which even now, you can see on these platforms as well, but there's still a sensationalization of the, mimics, or what people would use in New Age term is called mimics, copycats, and so forth, right? And to whom are still catering into the pots of chaos, and to which, in many many intro-perspective, perceptions or looks beyond that, you accept it for what it is. Yet at the same time, bitch, like, hello, but you don't want to pay up for what truly is going to assist, and still expect it to come easily, as if, those that have went through such to even get the knowledge to sit there and spill it so easily. And it's like, oh, it's not about the messenger, it's about the message. Yet, in this case, it's about listen to the fucking message. Listen to the message. The messages before the messages that are coming. Like, are we still there? And that's what truth is all around. But yet, truth is also, with such, knows and sees beyond the illusions of even everything that is right, plastered here in these, on these realms and in these forms of virtual existence. So, a lot of what it is just really those still catering to the shit show and allowing for them to finish up and patiently being, okay? And yeah, allowing for truth to continue to come forward in the ways that it is and being served as it is. So, I respect. I didn't think that was going to go there, but it went there, so that's where it ended. Yeah, all that just really made me think, though, at the same time, like, who does actually like the truth?
Now, I didn't know that this wasn't common knowledge. And if you didn't know this, that means you don't follow me. But white people have always indulged in cannibalism. They ate their slaves, and they ate black people that were free after the Emancipation Proclamation, after lynchings. If you didn't know this, you don't follow me. And if you don't follow me, you should follow me. My name's Chemistry. I teach Black history. I'm not part of Hillman Talk. I just do this for fun. And out of the passion that I have for spreading Black history. And just like everything else on my page, I'm not just feeding you a bunch of bullshit. There are a plethora of books that you can look into that proves that this is a fact. Books like The Delectable Negro, which covers recipes of how to eat black people. Another book called Edible People, The Historical Consumption of Negroes and Foreigners, and I believe it was like The Cannibalistic Trade. And that's just two of many. But yeah, if you want to know more about the topic, if you scroll down on my page, I have a video called White People Ate Black People. It's very, very informative. So go ahead, learn you something, follow me. I teach Black history. Also tap my link tree. I have a nonprofit, a YouTube, all that good stuff.
Black people have extra copper in their body. The term black is not correct. The term melanated is much more accurate, because the more copper you have, the more melanin you'll have, and the more melanin you have, the more copper you have. Remember, copper is the #1 deficiency on the planet. Copper is responsible for thousands of different gene expressions and functions. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, look at these people, they're better than these white people. I'm just breaking down the biophysiological components of the truth here. And at the end of the day, the more copper we have, hypothetically speaking, the more I can't jump. I'm gonna leave it at that. But if I train myself, eventually, 6 months to a year, I'd be able to dunk and jump. It's just a fact that people who have more melanin or who are more melanated, they actually can have a larger muscular skeletal system compared to those who are less melanated. 9 out of 10 African Americans melanated individual who joined the SEALs training ended up sinking this is from David Goggins, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And David Goggins would actually sink, and then somehow he taught himself to swim and float or whatever. So it doesn't mean that you're excluded, but just like we have to work for certain things to be able to jump, sometimes we also have to work to be able to navigate or swim through these obstacles. We're all the same at the end of the day, but some have been given a little bit more copper and melanin than others. This is going to have positive as well as some negative benefits depending on how you look at it. So if you didn't know the difference, and remember that the term race, it doesn't really exist. Okay? The term race did not come to existence until after the 1500s. And so this is why using the term white and black, it's not very accurate at all, and using those terms can kind of feed the beast system mentality. Babylon, confusion. Because according to the Bible, we're all brothers and sisters under Adam and Eve. Just because I have this color hair doesn't mean that I couldn't come from a black or a melanated copper-dense family. Recessive traits will pop up over time, but also so will dominant traits. Do you hear what I'm saying? If you go to Haiti, you'll see there's people who kind of look like me in dark families, and they kind of look out of place. But they come from the same mommy and daddy. Everything you've been taught has pretty much been a lie. Father, forgive us! Because the race has been made the race. Whew. Not the race. It's also why we ended up making y'all the Health Bible. Everything that you need to know is at jacobslink.com. Get healthy, wealthy, and wise. Or hit the link.
The speech that has gone viral is not just a rant, it's a reflection of a centuries of oppression, theft, and historical cover-ups. The demands being made, whether about returning land, artifacts, or resources, are not new. They are conversations that have been happening for generations but are now amplified in digital age, where people have access to information that was previously buried or dismissed. Let's start with colonization and stolen lands. Many people like to believe that colonization is a thing of the past, but it's not. The United States still controls Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands, Guam, and other territories where people do not have full representation in government that rules over them. France, Britain, and the Netherlands still hold overseas territories, and in many cases the people in these territories are still fighting for independence or at the very least fair treatment. When people talk about decolonization, they are not just talking about a historical event, they are talking about an ongoing struggle. Then there is the issue of stolen artifacts and cultural heritage. The British Museum alone has over 8 million objects, many of which were looted from colonized nations. France has stolen African arts, Germany has artifacts of Nibelian and taken during a genocide, and the Vatican still holds indigenous artifacts from the Americans. These items were not gifted or preserved by Europe, they were stolen. And despite countless calls for the repatriation, Western institutions continue to refuse giving them back. The argument often made is that these artifacts are safer in Western museums, but safer for whom? These artifacts belong to cultures that are still alive and striving, and keeping them locked away in institutions that profited from colonialism is an extension of the same theft. The fact that some museums are only now offering to loan stolen artifacts back to their countries of origin, as if they still own them, is a slap in the face. Now let's talk about the part of the speech that shocked a lot of people. The claim that white people engage in cannibalism, specifically targeting black people. This is something that a lot of people will immediately dismiss as conspiracy or exaggeration, but history tells a different story. The book The Delectable Negro by Vincent Wooder details how enslaved black people were not only physically consumed through labor but also in some cases literally consumed. Accounts from the 80s describe cases of human flesh being sold as Negro beef during times of starvation. After launching, body parts were often taken as souvenirs, and there are documented cases where those body parts were cooked and eaten. This is a part of a broader history of dehumanization. Throughout history, European societies have engaged in medical cannibalism, where human body parts were used in medicine. Powdered mummies from Egypt were sold as medicine in Europe for centuries. Human fat was used to treat wounds. Blood was consumed as a cure for virus alignment. So the idea that white societies never engage in cannibalism is simply false. It's just that when it's done by Europeans, it's treated as science or medicine. But when it's done by indigenous people, it's called savagery. Now let's address the claim about black people having more copper in their bodies and how that connects to melanin. Scientifically, melanin is a complex polymer that gives skin its color, and while it does have some interesting properties such as the ability to absorb and disperse UV radiation, there is no mainstream scientific consensus that melanated people have significantly higher levels of copper that give them superhuman ability. However, what is true is that the human moon relies on copper for essential functions, and deficiency in copper can lead to health problems. Whether or not black people have significantly higher values of copper is still debated, but what's deniable is that the way black people's body are studied, discussed, and sometimes exploited in medical science has always been influenced by racism. For example, the meant that black people feel less pain has roots in slavery when white doctors experimented on enslaved people without anesthesia. This false belief continues today, leading to black patients receiving less pain medication than white patients for the same conditions. So when people bring up ideas about biological difference between races, we have to be careful. On one hand, systemic racism has led to medical disparities. On the other hand, we have to avoid falling into the trap of pseudoscience that can be used to justify dangerous ideas. The point about black people having to work harder to swim or jump also needs some context. The claim that 9 of 10 black Navy SEAL trainees sink inside of floats comes from David Goggins, a former Navy SEAL himself. The reason often given for this is that black people tend to have dense bones, which makes floating harder. However, this is a generalization, and the ability to swim is more about access to training than genetics. Historically, black people in America were often denied access to swimming pools, and even today, drowning rates are disproportionately high among black children due to lack of access to swimming lessons. So the issue isn't necessarily about biology, it's about systemic barriers, and that brings us back to the core message of the speech. Everything we have been taught has been a lie. The history taught in schools often omits the worst parts of colonizing, slavery, and racism. The way race itself is defined has changed over time to serve political and economic interests. The racial categories we use today didn't exist before the 15th, and they were created to justify the transatlantic slave trade. So when people say give it back, they are not just talking about artifacts or land, they are talking about justice. They are talking about holding colonized accountable for the wealth they still profit from today. They are talking about dismantling system of oppression that have existed for centuries. Will Europe and America ever truly give back what they stole? History says no, but that doesn't mean that the conversation stops. The fact that this speech has gone viral proves that more people are waking up, again asking questions and demanding change, and that is exactly why this discussion needs to be continued. So what do you think? Should Western countries return stolen lands and artifacts? Do you think these historical stories are being hidden on purpose? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history, politics, and culture. See you in the next one.